All right, hey guys, this is your tutorial video on how to divide fractions. Dividing fractions is not all that different from multiplying fractions. In fact, the last couple steps of dividing fractions are exactly the same as multiplying fractions. There's just one key thing you need to remember. We're going to talk about the reciprocal fraction, and I'm going to teach you an easy way to remember the steps in order to divide fractions. So we're going to go through the same three types of problems that we did for the multiplication of fractions. I'm going to talk about dividing fractions by fractions, dividing whole numbers in fractions, and dividing mixed numbers. All right, so the first thing I want you to do is repeat after me. Leave me, change me, turn me over. Those are the only three steps you need to remember in order to be able to divide fractions. If you leave me, change me, and turn me over, you'll be able to easily divide fractions because after you do those three steps, it's exactly the same as multiplying fraction. And as we've discussed in class, and as you've figured out, that multiplying fractions is actually a whole lot easier than adding or subtracting fractions. So let's take a look about how we can use this leave me, change me, turn me over with examples. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is dividing a fraction by a fraction. We're still going to use that leave me, change me, turn me over. So let's say we've got the problem 2/3 divided by 1/3. The first thing you need to do is leave me. So you leave your first fraction completely alone. Leave me. Then you change me. You change the division sign into a multiplication sign. And then you do step 3, you turn me over. This is your reciprocal fraction. Instead of 1/3, it will be 3 over 1. You literally just flip the fraction over. So you leave me, change me, turn me over. Once you have done leave me, change me, turn me over, it is as simple as multiplying the fractions, same as you guys have already mastered. So we just multiply 2 times 3, multiply the numerators to get 6, multiply the denominators, 3 times 1 equals 3. An alarm goes off in my head because in 5th grade you know that you have to reduce or simplify your fractions, and 6 over 3 is an improper fraction because the numerator is larger than the denominator. I can do a little bit of work over on the side if I need to, though you may already know that 3 goes into 6 2 times with no leftovers. And so my whole number and my reduced improper fraction is going to be 2. 2/3 divided by 1/3 is 2. That means 1/3 goes into 2/3 2 whole times. All right, now we're going to talk about dividing a fraction by a whole number. So what that means is I'm going to have a fraction, say for instance 3/4, and I'm going to divide it by a whole number, which means I need to divide that fraction 3/4 into 2 parts. Just like with multiplication, what you need to do first is turn that whole number into a fraction, but it's just as easy as it was with multiplication. You turn a whole number into a fraction simply by making it over 1, making the 1 the denominator. Once you've done that, you still follow those same 3 steps. Leave me, change me, turn me over. So leave me, my first fraction stays exactly the same. I leave it alone. Change me, change my division sign into a multiplication sign. And turn me over, so my 2 over 1 becomes a 1 over a 2, or a 1/2. Then I just multiply my fractions. 3 times 1 is 3, and 4 times 2 is 8. And 3/8 is actually my lowest terms because 3 and 8 do not have any common factors other than 1. So 3/8 is going to be my answer. I also wanted to show you the reverse, dividing a whole number by a fraction. It's actually going to work a very similar way. So let's say, for example, I have 9 divided by 1/3. Your very first step is going to be to turn that whole number into a fraction, exactly the same way as you have before by simply putting a 1 as the denominator. Now I've got 9 over 1 divided by 1/3. Then I can leave me, change me, turn me over. I'm going to leave me, or leave my first fraction alone, 9 over 1. I'm going to change the division sign to a multiplication sign, and I'm going to turn me over. So I'm going to turn over 1/3 into 3 over 1. Then all I need to do is multiply. 9 times 3 equals 27, and 1 times 1 equals 1. An alarm should be going off in your head because we know that that's an improper fraction, and not only is it an improper fraction, but because 1 is the denominator, we know that that number is actually 27 wholes. So we know that 9 divided by 1/3 is going to be 27. That means if I had 9 and I divided each of those 9 into 3 pieces, I would end up with 27 pieces. All right, the last example I'm going to give you is for dividing mixed numbers. So let's say I have 4 2/3 divided by 2 1/3. You're going to still have to do those same steps that you did when you multiplied fractions. You're going to have to convert your mixed numbers into improper fractions. And remember, you do that by getting mad. Multiply the bottom, add the top, and keep your denominator. So let's convert these mixed numbers. Multiply the bottom. 3 times 4 is 12, plus the top. 12 plus 2 is 14. Keep my denominator, which is 3. I convert this mixed number over here. 2 times 3, multiply the bottom is 6, plus the top, that's 7. Keep my denominator, that's 3. Now I'm ready to do my leave me, change me, turn me over. So I'm going to leave me. My first fraction stays the same, 14 over 3. I'm going to change me. My division sign becomes a multiplication sign. And I'm going to turn me over. My 7/3 becomes 3/7. And then I just need to multiply. If you don't know your 14's facts, you can just come over here and do a little bit of cheese dip on the side. 14 times 3. 3 times 4 is 12. Carry my 1. 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1 more is 4. 42. And then 3 times 7 is 21. You automatically know that an alarm is going off in your head because 42 over 21 is an improper fraction, so I am going to have to convert it. And some of you may know that this actually is going to be a little bit easier than we thought. 21 is half of 42, so that I know that if I were to do 42 divided by 21, it's actually going to go in 2 times, and it's going to go in perfectly, which is my favorite kind of division problem with no remainder. So 42 over 21 is actually equal to 2 wholes. All right, so these are the steps for dividing fractions. It is similar to multiplying fractions. You just need to remember to do the leave me, change me, turn me over. That turning that second fraction and using the reciprocal fraction is going to be super important, and it's going to be the step that you must remember in order to accurately divide fractions.